Hello and thank you for clicking play. Today in this tutorial we're going to talk about how to manage C-level relationships. It's really important. We all have to deal with decision makers. Now let's try to learn to do it the best possible way we can. And we're going to cover a series of topics today that will, in those 4 steps, help guide you to actually build those relationships and grow your business, grow your reputation, grow a whole bunch of things. I hope you enjoyed. This is a longer one, and this is also a bit more complex one to some extent. Bear in mind that this one is also dipped very deeply in the chocolate dipping pots when you do your ice cream cones for sales and account management. So there's a lot of notions that if you're in sales, you're going to find familiar ground, and if you're not in sales, you're going to get to learn a whole bunch of new things, or so I hope. So first and foremost, this is the most important notion that you need to be aware of. It's not about you, it's about the customer. It's not about how fast your product is or how red your car you're selling is. It's what your customers need, how you can meet those needs, what are their objectives, and so forth. So it's not about you. It's always about the customer. So where do we want to go? Now, in the topic of working with C-levels, let's look at the type of relationships we want to have. Depending on where you're at in your current relationships, I invented this scale of measurement of relationships. So you won't find this in any book. I'm not claiming it's perfect, but it's a good starting point. And let's explore those 5 levels. Like the supplier is, I need 200 of these. Who's going to give me the best price? Have a nice day. Customer has no loyalty, right? Not really a good place to be unless that's your bread and butter, like supply, demand, supply, demand, supply, demand. And it's hard to grow a business long term in this kind of model. Then you can graduate and aim for trusted supplier, as in you'll be on top of the list of the supply demand suppliers, if you will. So there's going to be a little less price negotiation, a bit more trust, but you still are highly replaceable. Now, the partner level means you're starting to have a relationship. They're starting to like you. They're starting to trust you. You've been delivering. And this is a good starting point. This is like the first level you want to aim for is this one. Then trusted partner, they will bring you into the discussions for current and future projects, roadmaps, strategic direction, etc., acquisitions, new products, etc. And this is where you get into that inner circle, or as close as you can to the inner circle within your customer's organization, and you get access in a privileged kind of way. Now, strategic ally is what I like to call, they're going to bank their business on you. So imagine if you're a software as a service company, think of, let's say, Skip the Dishes or Uber Eats or any other thing out there. You're going to be building your business on a few core vendor solutions. Think about either Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure, Google Cloud, or Amazon EC2, right? So these are strategic allies, and if they go down, you go down with them. So, sorry, let me reverse that. If you go down, they go down with you. They're going to back a good part of their business with you, and this is the most important place to be. Highest reward, highest gains, a whole lot more fun, really. So why do you want to get there? It's everything that I just mentioned in the previous slide, but also it's going to give you access to future projects. And by future projects, it doesn't mean to stay with that same organization. All executives network, collaborate with colleagues and peers, so you may get access to different organizations. I work with this person, that person delivered this. Here's the number, call them. You won't be disappointed, right? Goes with reputation. That person won't let you down. Marketing, collaboration, that goes the other way. Where if you want to go out and break into different verticals, markets, or have launch campaigns, and Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, can you give me a testimonial, a case study, or something like that? Then you get access to these. And again, referrals, because people buy from people. Remember that. We're going to touch that one a couple of times. How does an executive person think? Again, this is my own interpretation, not from a book. I didn't steal this from anywhere. It's probably not perfect, but first and foremost, they think in organizational objective terms, like where is the company going to go and what objectives do we need to meet growth, bonuses, stock price, etc. Where are they hurting? What are they looking for? What's missing in their equation to go to the next level? They want trusted allies. They want people they can depend on. Like, if they're going to call you, you're going to be able to help, right? They want those very trusted relationships. The least amount of suppliers they deal with, typically the better. Also, they're individuals. They have individual objectives. They have to meet certain criteria for career advancement, for promotions, etc. And of course, compensation, because executives are commonly compensated through a variable income system, also known as bonuses, options, and so forth. So if you help that individual meet all those checkboxes in their comp plan, oh, they're going to like you even more. So, and I'm not being sneaky or dastardly here. That's how the universe works. So you can always ask when you have a good relationship with someone, is there anything you need to hit this quarter can help you with? Like, you have to have that level of trust and that level of relationship, and it's mutually beneficial at this point. Now, before you go talk to an exec, prepare. The number one reason when execs don't return cold calls is because people aren't prepared when they call them, or they just get hung up on because they're just not prepared, or, in all those situations. It's really important to know where you're going before calling someone, because it's, again, not about you, it's about them. The more you know about them, the more you'll be effective in that relationship. So read the annual quarterly reports if they're publicly traded or they have annual audits like in the non-for-profit world. Read social media. What's happening with the organization? What's happening with the individual? On the networking side, which organizations are they part of? Which trade organization? Which those kind of standards, user groups, organizations are a good place to understand your audience. Read press releases. It's sometimes boring. It's very architecture-y. But read what's happening in the media, read press releases so you know where they're going, what they're announcing, and you'll have a better idea of what they're going to need. Go through their organization website. I mean, understand what they're selling, who's their customers, who's their investors, all those things. It's good not to know the whole detail, but understand your audience. And employees and contacts are important as well because A, they can grant you access, but B, navigating those relationships when you have contacts in that account, it will help greatly if you've done business before or somebody changed jobs, etc. So you call on, say, the VP of Finance, and yeah, I know XYZ in accounting. We worked on this project at this company. Build from there, right? You've got to know where you're going. Prepare your deck of cards so you can win. Now, let's talk about who you're going to be talking to from the 5 flavors. This is important. I know this is really salesy, but it works regardless in whatever position you're in. So the 5 personas that you'll typically encounter are, the first and foremost, the gatekeeper. Be nice to the gatekeeper because they're the gatekeeper. You want to get onto an exec's schedule, you want to get a meeting, be nice. So that one's self-explanatory, but don't lie. It's like I have to say these because I've run into situations where you said what? And people get locked out of accounts that way. So just be nice, be honest, be friendly, be forthcoming, and be patient because the exec admin doesn't have anything to gain, really. Now, the blockers are the ones that have something to lose. If you're going to go in and propose XYZ or manage XYZ, somebody in your organization may have something to lose and it will put sticks in your wheels. If you wish to move, let's say, an on-premise piece of equipment to the cloud in the world of IT, which is where I come from, somebody may think they're going to lose their job. So, or they're going to get moved away into an apartment. Be nice to those individuals and bring them on board whenever you can. Convert them from people who lose something to people who gain something. Now, everybody's favorite, the decision maker. They're the ones who meet the qualification criteria, the classic band, which we're going to touch on later. That one is pretty obvious. Now, the influencers is where you need some strategic allies within the organization to push something. They're going to be the people that your decision maker are going to be depending on. Be friends with them, treat them well, equip them so they can help you win, and so they can win as well, because again, it's not about you, it's about them. And lastly, the fake decision makers, the ones that we love to hate and hate to love sometimes. They pretend to make decisions. They want to feel bigger, better, corporate climbers. They will stall you and cost you time and money, and they're no fun. Just the moment you sniff one, just try to find a way to bypass. They bring no value to the conversation, really. Now, gaining access to execs. So that icon is that exec, and there's 4 core paths that I've identified to simplify the conversation. And because not everybody knows everybody, so you want to gain a trust relationship, but where do you start? First and foremost, it's sad, but it still works. Cold connections, cold calling by email, phone, snail mail could be interesting, LinkedIn, and mail messages. I mean, we've done campaigns where I've worked in the past to gain access to decision makers with novelty ideas, like to gain access to IT decision makers, we mailed out shower heads to gain attention. And from there, so when you cold call, you're not as cold, and we understand your business, we understand what you're trying to do, and believe it or not, that showerhead made a whole lot of sense for Wi-Fi. I'm not going to go into detail today into this, it's not the purpose, but try to distinguish yourself from the horde that's trying to get access to that individual, but understand what they need. Secondly, networking. Colleagues, trade associations, business gatherings, peer meetings, user groups, etc. Personally, I love to do this because you always know somebody that knows somebody. I'll introduce you to XYZ. And it's a lot friendlier type context than just cold. So, encouraging you to go out and find networking venues that you can leverage, and it's good for everybody. Warm referrals. That's another great one. Customers, peers, partners, friends. And I had a dog park because of COVID, one of my lifelines, my life support systems was the dog park, because where else are you going to see humans, right? We were all quarantined, and people started talking to each other a whole lot more. And I started like, oh, you work there. Oh, you know this person does this. I pick up contracts and work and gigs at the dog park because I'm friendly, I know people, and goes against number 2 and number 3, by the way. And you offer to help, and you're like, yeah, let me send you this, or da-da-da, have a great day, and here's a poop bag. It's silly, but it works, and people buy from people, right? So, warm referrals. If you want to break into account XYZ, and you've sold to ABC, you get like, Mr. ABC, Mrs. ABC, do you know XYZ? You're like, yeah, can you hook me up? And if you've done a real good job, they will hook you up. So, yeah. In fact, they'll be selling for you. Now, lastly, online. That's a bit more work, and it doesn't always work as much, but if you find an exec that's collaborating into a LinkedIn group, and I'm using this as an example, collaborate in that group. Make yourself known. Make your name go around. Provide value in that discussion. So, I'm not saying it's the silver bullet of silver bullets, but everything's happening online. If you're not online, you're going to miss out. So, engaging with CLevels, executives, decision makers, there's some very basic rules that you need to follow, really. Be confident. Nobody will want to do business with somebody that doesn't have a certain level of confidence into themselves or what they're proposing or what they're managing. So people buy from people, right? Yeah, I don't know about this person. It's like, right? Ask prepared questions. Do your homework. Show up with valuable questions that will cause reflection whenever possible. Execs want to talk to their peers. So if you're going to go talk to an exec, think like an exec. Talk like an exec. Use the language of execs. Bring your notes. Show up prepared. People will typically quietly notice that, oh, this person showed up prepared. Interesting. They've done this. I will notice if you come and sell to me if you do your homework. I'm a big believer in this. Listen. Actively listen. When you're working in those contexts, your job is more to listen than to talk. So you want to hear about their problems, their challenges, their opportunities, their goals, their everythings. Lastly, that's the hardest one in the 6 is positively disagree. Nobody in general likes a yes person. Somebody that says yes. You're like, why? Know your subject matter, know what you're talking about, and positively, like, I understand what you're saying, but I'd like to bring the counterpoint that X, Y, and Z and customer ABC managed to gain 12% more efficiencies in 1 through 3. Back yourself up, but positively disagree. Feel free to challenge to some extent some notions, because you can actually, if you can actually change opinions and change perceptions, you will make some really good inroads. Now, qualifying. And qualifying goes beyond sales. Qualifying is something I like to remind everybody in the world that it's a great way to figure out if something's happening or you're wasting your time, right? It doesn't matter if it's the little league where your kids play soccer or your Fortune 500 account. Qualify, please. Figure it out. So first and foremost, there's 4 layers in qualifying that are commonly used. And we're going to be using the BANT methodology, which stands for Budget, Authority, Need, and Timeline. First and foremost, has budget been allocated? Are you at liberty to say how much? And when is this budget being accrued? Those kind of questions. If you ask the hard business questions and you don't get answers, you may not have an opportunity or a project or something that's solid enough to invest in. Authority, it's pretty simple. Are you the person making the final decision? Yes, no, right? It's a bit of a more direct kind of question. There's ways around that. You can always, based on a relationship, get to that point in a less direct way. But at the end of the day, you need to know if you're dealing with somebody or that will decide, or their superior will decide, and that will directly impact your success rates. Needs. Do they need this or not? Or are they just curious? Or are they just kicking around tires? They're like, yeah, we're not sure. Do they have a project? Do they have a timeline? What about their business objectives? Why do you need this? Explain to me why we're talking. And timeline is also critical, because if you don't have a hard stop for when the decision is made, you don't have a deal. You don't have a project. You don't have anything. They're just kicking around ideas. It's not a bad place to be when they're kicking around ideas, but you cannot bank on that being something that is solid. So qualifying is actually really that simple. And the only way to get better is to practice. So whenever you go someplace, somewhere, talk to people, practice. Just keep that in the back of your mind. People buy from people. You've heard me say this one a couple of times, right? And bear in mind that people don't like to be sold, but people love to buy. So it's an interesting situation. I love relationships based on trust, right? If you're going to be talking to execs and you want to have the top tier level of relationship that we've seen at the beginning of this tutorial, be likable. So first and foremost, dress at least as nice as the people you meet. I would typically wear a tie going into a meeting, because it's far easier to take it off if everybody's wearing jeans and t-shirts. than to apologize for the dress code, right? So it's you save yourself some faux pas and you treat people with respect. It's people will notice, consciously or not, but they're like, oh, okay. Be authentic. Be honest. Like, I could blend those two together, but I like to separate them. Be authentic. Like, just if you don't know something, you don't know something, and don't be shy from being an expert at the same time, right? Be authentic. Yeah, no, I've done this project this place, and I've acquired these credentials, and we were able to do XYZ. Be honest means don't say anything that can be counter-verified and hurt you, right? People aren't dumb. People have relationships. Yeah, Steve, I met with this project manager, and he said that you guys did XYZ. You're like, no, that's completely false, right? Then boom, you sunk your battleship. These are basic things, but I like to repeat them because people get greedy, people get ambitious, and sometimes you have to hold people back a bit. Be attentive. Always be there for them. See, I'm repeating that. Be persistent and stay on top. I broke into accounts and managed relationships because I was persistent. Not annoying, just persistent. Stay on top. Keep them on their timelines. Don't be shy of reaching out and like, hey, following up on this, where you at? You need a hand. And the deadline was this. You need help to meet the deadline. That always take stuff off their plate, and they always appreciate. And be the problem solver, because at the end of the day, we're there to solve business problems when we engage with executives. Show up with solutions. Understand their problem, bring solutions. If you just go like, yeah, didn't think about that, and didn't think about that, and didn't think about that, you're not a problem solver, you're not a solution provider, you're just another person in front of them. Show up with what it needs to help them win. Now, on the ongoing management of relationships, because you meet with them once or twice, that's fine, but let's grind this in the light of projects are more than 2 days, right? Timelines and objectives. You have to understand their timelines, their objectives, and you need to manage yourself accordingly. And going back to the previous slide, try to keep them on their A game at the same time. Be proactive. Don't wait for the customer to call for something that you know they'll need. Proactively be the problem solver. They will so love you for it. Take ownership to permission. May I do this? Can I do this? And let me take this off your plate. It won't cost you more, and we'll get to destination faster. Use your own dog food. Not because I'm a dog owner, because I'm a big fan of using what I'm proposing, managing, selling. And if that's not happening, if I don't understand what we're doing internally, how is the customer supposed to relate to us? So use your own dog food. And in those situations, you can always bring product managers, engineers, whatever's needed to help them understand what the value is and how we use it internally and how we've found success, right? Run with all involved. I mean, don't leave anybody behind, from the receptionist to the decision maker, everybody in between. Manage all those relationships because they're all important. Everybody needs to get to the destination at the same time. And stay in touch. Don't go a month without talking to a customer. I was on a project last winter for a tech startup and doing some coaching mentoring. And their customer, their number one prospect, was emailing them back and saying, like, when am I going to get an answer? And we're talking about a major local corporation. And that just like, nah. Stay in touch. Deliver what you need to deliver. But stay in touch. Don't neglect. Follow up. Stay on top. Everything's going to be so much better. That regular contact thing, it's like using WD-40 on squeaky parts. You're going to remove the squeak. If you don't know what WD-40 is, Google it. And I wish to thank you for bearing with me on this introduction to talking to executives. I hope this was useful, and if you have any questions, you want to have this content done more in a workshop kind of way, Don't be shy. Drop me an email. I'll be glad to lend a hand. Thank you very much and have a great day.